Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Larry Jacobs. This is Pre-K-12 Education Talk Radio, and thanks so much for being with us on this April 18th, 2024, and we do appreciate your listenership. How are you today? I hope our guest today is doing great. She's Dr. Julie Radlauer-Dorfler. Dr. Radlauer is a leading expert in the social influences of mental health, and we're going to talk about creating socially connected schools and how important this is, okay, for kids and educators in the school, as I might add also parents as well. It's really going to be a nice show, and I'm glad Julie is with us today. She is a doctor of public health, a licensed mental health counselor, okay, and a next speaker, so it's really going to be a nice show. We're going to archive the show over at ace-ed.org. ace-ed.org is the home website of our American Consortium for Equity in Education. And please go over there, check it all out. Everything's free over there. It's designed for educators, but really anybody can go over it all. We're talking about equity, which is important to school kids and parents, et cetera, getting each kid the education they truly deserve. We have our Equity Awards program over there. We have all our podcasts over there, our magazine over there, online journal called Equity and Access, okay? Plus a lot of information. Our vice president in charge, our publisher, takes carefully Dr. Maya Appleby. Maya Appleby. I'm looking at Julie's thing here. So Maya Appleby, Maya's not a doctor, okay? So please check it all out over at ace-ed.org. We'll have a good laugh about that later. Julie, are you there? Pardon me for giggling. I never called Maya Dr. Maya before, but you are Dr. Radlauer. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning. How are you?
I was reading over again what I wanted to say to you, and it came out Dr. Maya Appleby, and I know she's giggling down in Florida, which is where you are, by the way. I assume it's another gorgeous day down there.
It's another gorgeous day down here. Absolutely.
Never ends. Never ends, for goodness sakes. You know, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're trying to do here. And I did connect this all, okay? It's over at collectivelyus.org. But it's connected. But please, Julie, tell us a little bit just about how you want to start this thing, your background, whatever you want to say this. Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm really looking forward to having the conversation. And I appreciate any venue where I get to talk about the value of social connectedness. I'll just tell you a little bit about how I got into this space, because I think that kind of speaks to a lot of what you mentioned in terms of equity as well as social connections.
Go ahead,
so
please.
I'm a licensed mental health counselor, working in the field for many years, and just really frustrated that, children were coming into care and needing support, and, that they would get stabilized, and then 3 months later, the family would be right back at the community mental health center, or, the child would be right back needing help. And so I became really frustrated with the systems, which led me to, a lot of the doctoral work that I did was looking at, the inequities in the systems and why they continue to not meet the needs of people and make people come back in for care, recidivate into our system. Mm-hmm. And so that research kind of led me down this path of, I did a national research study where I interviewed families from across the country, African-American families, and said, is the mental health system working for you? And
excuse me, I'm sorry, did you just say African-American families or all families? I didn't hear the way you positioned that. African-American?
Black and African-American families. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
That was my research study, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Specific to that population, because we wanted to find out, do they feel that their needs can be met in the system? Mm-hmm. Talking to families, basically what they said was, no, the system doesn't really work for us for a lot of reasons. Like, social determinants of health, reasons like insurance and funding and transportation, but also reasons for like, the person that is trying to help me doesn't understand my life situation. They come from a different culture and a different background. Absolutely. And even so much as in my culture, we don't do things that way. So we don't even go talk to a complete stranger about something. And so, we take care of it within our own community, our own home, our own, faith-based organization. Mm-hmm. Sure. And so, we have these systems set up that are, supposed to support everybody, but then whole majorities and whole populations don't access them properly, or the way that they were, the way they were designed, because
that's
of
right.
Cultural reasons, and then that continues to perpetuate inequities and inequitable outcomes.
You're exactly right. And I lived in Florida for a while, and I have to say, when you made that distinction, I love that distinction between Black and African American families. Of course, down in South Florida, you're in South Florida, right? Am I correct?
Yes, I'm in South Florida.
Yeah. And I remember in Delray, it was very much Haitian and Creole down there, which is a different culture than African American culture. Okay, it's Haitian American culture, and you can go right down a whole list of things like that. And it is, if you are from Haiti, Dominican Republic, wherever you might be from, okay, let's pick on the island of Hispaniola for a second, okay, it's a different culture and a different way to interact, not only with authority but with schools, et cetera, et cetera. It's a very interesting challenge. I'm glad you picked up on that. Thank you, Julie. That's great.
Oh,
okay?
Absolutely. Yeah, we did a research study with a school that was predominantly Haitian, and the kids were in school talking about their mental health challenges. The girls in school talking about their mental health challenges, but they couldn't tell their moms.
Yeah.
Because of the cultural belief that they're, in that culture, if you're experiencing mental health, there's a belief that somebody has put a curse on you. So by telling their moms that they were struggling with mental health, they risked being, isolated and alienated by their parents.
That's right.
And so we had to create a whole curriculum just to educate the parents about what their kids might be experiencing, so that, and these girls were traumatized by it because their mom's their best friend, but they had to keep this secret.
It's really scary when you do these kinds of things, and I don't mean to denigrate a different culture or anything like that, but when we get somebody, the way we do it here is a lot different. We want parents to be very, very active in schools, all right, and very understanding of their kids and all that. It's very, very difficult. So in the end, what with your research, this must have taken you a little bit further. Okay, and I know, let me say it this way, you're collectivelyus.org, which is a, quote, Radlauer venture. I love that, by the way. Radlauer venture, it's right on the website. I like venture. Okay, it was good, Julie, good way to put it. Okay, what are you, it is, what are you trying to do? Do you want to talk to schools? Do you want them to come to your website? What's the goal here of what you're trying to do? Do you want to set up a organization where schools, all come together, et cetera, et cetera? Talk about this. Curious what your end goal is. Where do you see this happening? Go ahead.
Sure. Well, so, I'm a researcher. So what I do, I took the research from that study and created a curriculum. And then the curriculum is designed, basically the result of that one study said, we don't want formal treatment services based on our culture and our beliefs and the way that the American system is designed. We want to have our needs met, our mental health needs met in more informal ways through our family, our faith, our friends, our community. And so that's where the work on social connectedness really, started. Was, okay, so then how do we help people learn how to build these connections that can support mental health? And so that's a lot of the work that I do now is I train professionals, I train, teachers, I train guidance counselors, school social workers, school counselors, counselors in community mental health, private practice counselors, people that work in the child welfare system, any professional, helping professional about the value and importance of social connectedness and helping our youth create social connectedness. Now, this was the Surgeon General recently put out a report about our loneliness epidemic and our loneliness crisis, and with one of the solutions being social connection. So his work, completely supports my research, obviously, because it's a global crisis. So
I'm global crisis, all right. It's terrible, and it's interesting in a world of unlimited connectability. Okay, we can talk to friends in Singapore if we want to. Okay, we can go anywhere we want, all right? Yet it's become more and more in this day and age, and especially affecting kids, school-age kids, all right? It has become a world of social isolation, because they're talking to people on their screens, okay, as opposed to 3D. All right, and I wrote down here. When did you do your research? When did that happen?
My research was in. That's a good question. 2017, 18, 19, around there.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. It
was just pre-COVID. Actually, I did a study during COVID too, because I remember I was able to, go much larger than I wanted because I used Zoom. So yeah, and I'm still doing research. It's an ongoing thing.
Yeah, we date our calendars BC and AD.
I know.
And I think we're going to have to do a pre-COVID and post-COVID from now on. Okay, it's
exactly.
Everything seems to be dated from the days of the pandemic, etc. But my point of asking that question is research is still fairly new, okay? But so much changed over the course of the pandemic. If anything, it's gotten worse, okay? And most teachers will tell you, and I know I have friends who have, I'm a little bit of age, and I have friends who have grandkids. They don't go out and play anymore.
No,
okay?
I know.
The kids come home.
Yeah.
Okay, and I don't know what they're like at school. But I assume school's a different thing from when I went to school, because when I was done school, I couldn't wait to go out and play with friends. And I think, and I'm stereotyping here, okay, today kids can't wait to go home and get up on their screens, okay, and they're more and more. Yeah. It's weird. It's a changing world, and the schools have to adapt to this. I mean, it's going to be it's really wide. I was talking to a buddy of mine yesterday whose son just got a new job. All right, and the job is in London. The son is in California. All right, and the whole thing. You're not dealing even with the workplace anymore, and we and schools, okay, have to train people to become good working citizens. Okay, we have to recognize that world of collaborate, what we used to call collaboration in 3D, if I may, okay, has changed to an on-screen collaboration, and the mental health challenges are still there. And it's a quick change for a society that evolves slowly. All right? Evolution is slow. That's not revolution, it's evolution. You're right. And it just takes a long time. So what do you suggest people do about all this, Julie? Here I'm ranting and raving. You got me going here on one of my favorite topics.
Yeah, I know.
Okay? Yes, I know. It just makes me nuts.
The struggle is real. The struggle is real. I know.
Yeah.
Well, I have 3 boys, and one of my sons, we kept him off of social media. He started in high school, and the first day in high school, he's trying to find a place to sit for lunch, and he ended up sitting at a table with 5 other kids. So there's 6 of them at the table. Each of the boys had their cell phones out, and they were all on Snapchat with each other, but my son didn't have Snapchat. And so he's literally sitting at the table with 5 people during lunch, can't communicate with them because they're communicating with each other through the phone while they're sitting in front of each other, and he's sitting there staring at himself. And so he came home and he said, "Mom, I need Snapchat. Like, I can't, I'm going to be left in the dark ages without this thing," and that's
frightening. That's weird.
It is frightening. But so if you ask me, my pie in the sky, I wish schools would keep the telephone, the cell phones out of, force children to communicate with each other.
Exactly. There was an article, by the way, I don't know if you saw it. There was an article in New York Times, probably last week, the end of last week. It was one of the opinion pieces. And it was to get the cell phones the hell out of school. That was basically the title of the article.
I know the problem is it's the parents. Yeah. The problem is the parents.
It is. By the way, I have to ask you,
parents,
Dr. Radlauer, what did you do? Did he wind up getting Snapchat, or did you tell him to tell his friends to put away their damn phones? What did you tell him?
He didn't get Snapchat, but he did get Instagram. At the time I was like, Snapchat not so much, but Instagram, if we have to do that. Yeah, but now
what's a changing world? That's the point. We know how we grew up, okay?
Right.
And I'm older than you, okay? But how we grew up, but it's different for the kids today. Okay.
Yeah. No, absolutely. They get left behind.
Yeah. Especially in the days post, if I may, again bringing down the calendar post-COVID. Okay,
I know.
Yeah, there's BC before COVID and AC after COVID. Okay, and that's the way you have to break down the calendar from now on. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things that concerns me, and as somebody that works in the mental health field, are the skills that youth need to learn in order to be able to function with each other. And that's a big part of why we're seeing such an increase in mental health, this mental health crisis, is because, they don't know how to talk to, so they have anxiety, they have depression. Our current generation, they're the most anxious, and most depressed generation. So
they are.
Yeah, a project that I'm just about to launch, which I'm really excited about, and I hope the schools, can partake in it, is it's virtual, and it's designed to bring youth together that have been identified by their counselors or their teachers or whatnot as youth that are really struggling with connection. So youth that are experiencing loneliness and isolation, anxiety, depression, and you put them on Zoom or some other, platform. It's facilitated by a teacher or a support counselor or somebody, and it's a 6-session course where you teach them all about what I call the social influences. So you teach them about social connection, social support, social capital, how to manage their social media, and how to focus on social inclusion. And they do, they talk to each other in breakout rooms. They have homework assignments. They learn a little bit about the science behind all of these, because everything is science-based. And so over the course of 6 sessions, they get to know each other because they're virtual and they feel comfortable that way. And then the 7th session, they're in person. And so what you do is you take youth that are, anxious and uncomfortable with being around other youth, and you break down the barriers virtually. And then now they have 8 to 10 friends in their school. They have friends in their community. They have friends in their school because they've gone through this process together. And so what I do is I train the counselors how to facilitate the program within their schools. So we've got really good research so far that it does create connection. Yeah.
Are you working with schools down in Florida or elsewhere?
Yeah, I'm literally just launching the project.
Cool.
And so we're going to be working with a couple of schools in Florida. I'm doing a keynote tomorrow, and I'm going to be talking about the project. And then I'm going up to St. Augustine next week to begin, training a new cohort. So we're just getting started with it.
That's great.
Preliminarily, it looks really exciting.
Yeah, it is. And again, everybody, I just want to say this is connected. It's collectivelyus, collectivelyus.org. That's Julie Radlauer that we're talking here. And again, it's linked. You said the magic word. I want to ask you about this. And you said you want the kids to talk. All right. And I'm sure everybody in the world notices that whenever you call a company, it's pretty hard to get somebody to talk to you. Okay. And the art of, you're going through the phone tree. Where it's all, you can't ask anybody anything before you know it. You're screaming you're screaming curses at something that can't hear you. Everybody does this, okay, including yours truly here, and even great psychologists like Julie here. All right, God, whatever. But my point is, okay, you said the word talk, okay, and I'm curious. Kids today, I watch them with their magic thumbs, and they talk to quote to each other by texting. Okay, right. Which frankly, as an old fart, drives me crazy. All right, because nobody can talk anymore. And I'm curious to ask you, as you talk to kids, again, no pun intended, you talk to kids and counselors, can they communicate well with each other, or do they need some expertise in how to communicate, or do we need expertise in a new way to communicate? It's a weird world out there. Julie, what do you think? I think
it's both and. I think we have expectations about how youth today should do things. And so are they going to meet our expectations? That's our work that we have to do, to recognize that, times are changing, and also they need to learn how to communicate in person and use their voices, because there's research that demonstrates that, you have better mental health outcomes when you have face-to-face social connections.
Absolutely.
And face-to-face social connections doesn't mean sitting at a table, both of you on your phones. It means the phone's not there, and you're communicating with each other using, your mouth and your eyes and all the things. So it's a both.
Excuse me. It really, really is, and this is key. So let me ask you this: we're talking to teachers today, just off the top of your head. Okay, I'll say it differently. We're talking to educators today. Okay? Besides, and they should call you. They should get in touch. They should learn about what you're doing, etc. But just what are some tips that you might have for them to get the kids rolling along a little better and understand how important it is for social connections? Okay? Because this is a frustrating time for teachers. Okay, what should they do?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, so one of the things that I've been working on, and we released it last summer, I think. So it's a workbook, and it's called Connect, 100 Ways to Create Happiness in Your Life. And so it's 100 different activities that you can do with youth in the classroom to help them build connections. So, I mean, I know that, teachers are so concerned about the curriculum that they have to do in order to get kids prepared for testing and whatnot. But it's a shift that we have to make, that social emotional learning piece. But it doesn't have to be, so it's just 5 minutes out of every class, or even if you can't do it 5 minutes out of your class, 5 minutes 10 minutes once a week. And you do something intentional about building connections. And again, there's a book that has 100 different activities that you can do. So much as simple as sit next, look for 30 seconds eye to eye to the person sitting next to you.
Bingo.
Just stare eye to eye to the person, and then let's talk about what that felt like.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it. It doesn't have to be so this big, huge, elaborate. I need to prepare. I don't have time to prepare. Buy the book. Open up to any page and find an activity in there that you think that, matches what you guys are talking about in your classroom, because there are all different kinds of activities. There's math activities, there's social studies activities, there's science activities, there's reading activities and writing activities, but they're all based in social connectedness.
And I have to ask, go back full circle to what we're talking about at the beginning. As you create the workbook, are there cultural differences that you have to look at? Okay, and I'm making up something here. There might be a culture somewhere in our schools where looking somebody in the eye means that you're really going to come after them later. That kind of a thing. Okay, I'm not saying that's for real. I just kind of made that up. Okay, but my point, somewhere there is. You look at me in the eye, that's a threat. All right, that's a threat to me. Okay, you're going to sit and stare at me. It's like what Larry David does on Curb Your Enthusiasm. He looks people in the eye for like 15 seconds, and some people would see that as a threat, a questioning, you're an idiot, that kind of a thing. And Larry David wants you to believe that that's exactly what it should be. Okay, and my point, as you do that workbook, okay, what about the cultural differences in there? I mean, I don't know if you ever thought about that, but I'm just curious about it.
Absolutely. Well, that's the beauty in it, is because afterwards, after you do it, you're going to have a conversation about it. And if that, in my culture, that's what you just told me to do is offensive, that's when I'm going to say it. I'm going to say, hey, you know what? My family is from Asia, and in our culture, we don't do that. You don't look people in the eye. You don't look adults in the eye. And then, if you have somebody from Haiti in the same classroom, they're going to go, oh, my gosh, same thing. That's what I thought when I was doing that activity. I thought I could never do this in my family because I would be being disrespectful. And then somebody else, you know what I mean? So that's part of the beauty of it, is you learn about different people, different cultures, just by doing a simple activity.
And, I'm going to ask you something, and I love the fact that you're going after school districts to help them and, consult to them and et cetera, and that's very important. It's all part of professional development. But as I look at education, I think the challenge is really, to me, in education, schools of education, okay? Teachers are not going in my humble opinion, as I've learned on doing all these podcasts, prepared for today's kids. Today's kids are not yesterday's kids, pre-COVID, post-COVID, okay? It's just not the same world. It's too high-tech. Things move too quickly, all right? And the work you do, Professor, by the way, you are a professor somewhere. You're teaching somewhere at higher ed, aren't you? If I remember correctly?
Yes, University of South. I teach at University of South Florida.
Good. Talk to their education school. Because the problem is, okay, they've got to prepare teachers differently. We lose young teachers quickly. And one of the reasons we lose them so quickly is because they're not prepared for what's coming down the pike. All right? Because we're teaching them the old-fashioned way. Okay? And what you do, okay, is so damn important to all this. Okay, they have to change the way they teach teachers to teach. It's not so much when I was a history teacher. I knew a lot about history, but they taught me very little about everything else about kids. All right, and I taught for 10 years. All right, but I left, and you know you've got to teach people to go in there, okay, and take charge right away. It's a different world. What do you think of that? I mean, to me, what you do, you should translate that right to your education. Not you. I'm not yelling at you, Julie. I'm simply venting. Okay. But we need to get people like you involved with the education schools, so that those professors and those students are prepared to go in before we're taking care of things before they happen. We're proactive as opposed to reactive. That seems to be what's happening right now. Your thoughts, Julie, now that I've vented my liver?
No, I know. And my heart goes out to educators. Actually, anybody who works within any system at this point, whether it's the physical health system, the behavioral health system, education system, you know, all of our systems are so taxed. But educators specifically, because you're dealing with, you know, a classroom of 20 youth that, you know, 70% of them are struggling with their mental health. So they're not engaged and connected in a typical way anyway. And like you said, you know, it's the education and the material that's being taught is a moving target, because some days it's, you know, teach this, and then all of a sudden now we've shifted to a virtual version of that, and you know, now we can't use the virtual version because of, you know, copyright laws or what, you know what I mean? It's this constant moving target.
Yeah, it is.
You know,
it is.
That I really, my heart goes out to educators, because they really are like definitely on the front line these days. You know, and that's why I say, like, take some time to step away from the need for productivity, you know, and focus on connection.
Thank you.
Let's focus on helping to build these kids as human beings while we're doing the other stuff. You know what I mean? But it's like, and again, is that now the teacher's responsibility? It's, you know, how much more can a teacher do? You know?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I get it. You know,
I get that. But the point is, we have to make sure that the curriculum, I'll say it this way, every curriculum reflects the mental health of the kids. That's the way to do it.
Absolutely.
Because of those kids,
absolutely,
they're going to learn. You can take 5% of your time, okay, to make the kids feel better, so that other 95% works better. Okay, and that's really what you're talking about. It's that simple.
Yeah.
You know, Julie, it's been nice to have you here. That went quickly. Thank you so much. This was terrific. I wish you the best of luck with everything you're doing. I think the school districts need more of what you're doing these days. Okay, so thank you. This is great.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you.
I enjoyed it too, and enjoy Florida now that all the snowbirds are heading north. Okay, it gets quiet down there. You can get into restaurants. It's
so you've been here.
You know, less traffic, quieter, easier. It's fun.
Exactly.
Okay, Julie, thanks a million. I appreciate it. I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Julie Radlauer, everybody, and it's connectibiltyus.org. Good stuff. Okay, she's good at what she does. All right, I like this. We're going to archive over at ace-ed.org. I'm Larry Jacobs, speaking for myself and our publisher, Dr. Maya Appleby. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.